Assalamu alaikum. Hello everyone. Welcome to day 3 of the Global Entrepreneurship Week 2021 celebrations. This is Ashraf Khalifa from Sudanpreneur Live. So today's workshop, we're going to be talking about communication, team building, and leadership. Okay, I don't know if I... One second. Okay, give me a minute. I'm just going to type the comment the day workshop so that I can pin it. Communication, media, and team building. Okay, let me just tag. Pin the comment. Okay, perfect. And now I think we're ready. Okay, so communication, team building, and media. Communication skills, team building, and media. So the most important thing that you need to understand when it comes to communication, that there's, it's more of your learning styles, but it's also linked very strongly to the communication, right? So there's audio, there's visual, and there's kinesthetic. So visual is like seeing the thing in front of you, auditory is like hearing it, and kinesthetic is like doing the thing. So for example, when it comes to, for example, if you go to IKEA and buy some new furniture, think about how it is that you start building your new shelf. Do you sit down, read the instructions? Do you watch a video about it? Or you just get stuck in and start building? Alright, so think about what style you prefer, and then that will play a big role, a big influence in how you see other people's communications, but also how you communicate to other people. Alright, but at its basic level, communication is simply the act of transferring information from one place to another. Alright, although this is a very simple definition, when we think about how we may communicate, the subject itself becomes a lot more complex. Right? There are various categories of communication, and more than one of these can happen at any time. So for example, there's the spoken or the verbal communication. Alright, so this can take place either face to face, it can take place on the telephone, so you don't even need to be in the same room as the person you're talking to. It could be like how we're doing it now, where I'm talking to a screen and you're listening on the other side of the screen. Or it could be where you're sitting there listening from a radio or a television or any other media. Okay. The second part is the non-verbal communication. Right. So for example, body language, gestures. So when someone's saying something, you can tell if they're happy or sad just by looking at their facial expression. If they're excited, they'll be moving their hands around a lot, for example. Okay. Other things as well in the non-verbal is the way that we dress, the way that we act, or even like what the scents that we've got. When I say scent, I mean SECENT, so like the smells. So for example, if you're mourning or upset, you could focus on wearing black, for example. The way that you're acting, the actions that you're doing, they give off a large part. All right. And then there's the written communication. So that's obviously letters, emails, books. But now, especially in this new modern age, we've got email, we've got text message, we've got messages like on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or whatever. So that's one area where people also need to excel, and then also need to know the different types. So like you've got when you're messaging your friends versus when you're messaging your boss versus when you're messaging your colleagues. So there's like professional, like written communication, there's informal, so there's different types. Okay. And then another area of communication is the visualizational type of communications. All right, so this is like graphs and charts, maps, logos, other types of visual type stuff that can convey a message or communicate a message. All right. And yeah, so basically those are different types of communication, and that's why communication itself is very very broad, and I want you guys to think about it in a very broad way. All right. The most important thing is what your message that you're trying to convey, and is the message that you're trying to convey being conveyed in the way that you are communicating. All right. So when it comes to spoken or verbal communication, all right, it's dependent on a number of factors, and it cannot be fully isolated from any other interpersonal skills such as non-verbal communication. All right, listening skills and clarification. The most important thing is the clarity of speech, remaining calm, remaining focused, being polite, and then following some basic rules of etiquette. All right, and then these types of things, if you pay attention to all of them, they will definitely aid the process of your verbal communication and will help you be a better speaker or a better communicator. And then it's definitely things that you need to work on. So a lot of people, they always say, oh, I'm scared of public speaking. But if you don't practice, you're never going to get better. Yeah, so there's different things that you can do. Just one or two things a day, every day, and then you get better over time. And then also just you have to get out of your comfort zone, especially if you want to set up a business. You need to have good communication. All right. When it comes to non-verbal communication, you've got like your facial expressions. All right. So especially if you're gonna, like, if you have to do a presentation or a pitch or something, I would definitely say practice in front of the mirror, or even better, like now with my camera, with the self-facing camera, I can actually record and then see what sort of my facial expressions are. Salam ya guys, nice to see you on here. So practice your different facial expressions and make sure your facial expressions are actually matching what you're saying. All right. And then also another thing as well, like you've got to understand some words have multiple meanings. So sometimes you might say something, but it might come across as something else. And then this could be intentional or not intentional. The other thing as well, and sometimes you want to go with the complex type of word, and it's better to try and keep it simple, because the more simple, the more people follow, and the more people stay focused, stay attending. All right. So again, facial expressions, and then more importantly than that is the tone, the pitch, the gestures that you're using. So for example, if something is very, very important, you could say it slowly, for example, or you could say it at a louder voice, or for example, or you could, for example, a lot of people love to do this, which is to put it in quotation marks, so then at least people know that this is very important, So these are things that I want you to think about and try to implement when you're trying to communicate, all right? And then all of these non-verbal signs can give either more clues, additional information, or better meaning, and also it's a lot stronger and than just like one tone type of verbal communication. All right. So when it comes to writing skills are an important part of communication. All right. Good writing skills allows you to communicate your message with clarity and ease, and to a much far larger audience than with face-to-face or telephone conversations. So, for example, if you're on stage, you've got maximum 1,000 people or 100 people or whatever it is, but with one letter that can go to 2 million people. All right. And then another thing that's important to understand with written communication is that when it comes to jobs or things like that, a big part of your chances of success is if you are good at written communication. And when it comes to when they see your written communication, if they find your written communication at a high level, then it definitely help you along in terms of getting promoted, in terms of career development and stuff like that. And then when it comes to written communication, it could be something like writing a report, a plan, or a strategy at work, all right? Or it could be like writing like a finance application or a funding application or a grant to try and get more money for your business. It could be like a press release that you need to do for your business. All right. Um, Another thing is like with your website, for example, your blog, or even the information that you've got on your website as well. And then, of course, having a CV, a resume. The most important thing when it comes to written communication is to try and make sure that there's no spelling or grammatical mistakes, especially if you're writing, like applying for a job and you want to get a job. But the thing I want to tell you guys is, and always try to get someone else to look over your work. I know for me, I have a big problem with that because I don't know. I'm like I'm in a rush, and also like I'm constantly in motion, dynamic. So a lot of times I don't have the time to get someone to read over. And then even if you read your paragraph like 50 times, sometimes like one word is spelled wrong, but you won't catch it. And then just keep practicing, keep writing, and then again you will improve. And then when it comes to the visual side, you've got, again, I know I said this yesterday, but people love to talk about how a picture says 1,000 words. All right. So when it comes to a picture, that's only 1,000 words, right? But it comes to a graph, a bar chart, or a pie chart, that's more like 1,000,000 words, right? So a good graph or chart can show as much as 5-6 paragraphs of words, all right? And then also the other thing as well, you need to think about what type of graph to use, what style, all right? And yeah, so figure out, and because sometimes a graph could not show the exact thing that you're trying to say, or it might confuse the user, but because you like it, you put it in there. All right, so just try to make sure that it all flows, it all goes in. The other thing as well, when I say good, it means ones that are not misleading, because you don't want to mislead your reader, and you don't want to create doubt. Okay. And then when it comes to communication skills, so these are like some I'll put down as my top 10 communication skills. I mean, you obviously might not agree with them, but don't forget, each skill, you want to work on it, you want to develop it, you want to get better at it, and you want to improve at it. All right. So the first thing is to look at these and then put down which skills you're strongest at, which skills you're weakest at, and then work on your weakest skills and utilize your strongest skills. All right. So the first one I put down is listening. So being a good listener is one of the best ways of being a good communicator, because if you can listen very well, then you can literally just like tell the person what they actually want to hear, because you've been listening to what they're saying. All right. The second one is non-verbal communication. All right. So this is like your body language, eye contact, hand gestures, and tone all color the message that you're trying to convey. All right. The third one is clarity and concision. All right. So concision is like concise, like getting to the point. And then this is all about trying to convey your message in as few words as possible. All right. So yeah. So try to short and sweet is the best in communication. And then friendliness. So through a friendly tone or a personal question or a simple smile, you will encourage your coworkers or your partners or your employees to engage in open, honest communication with you. And then yesterday we were talking about marketing and branding. So make sure that the brand reflects the tone that you're using. So if you've got and if your brand is a friendly brand, make sure your communication is always friendly. If your brand is a serious brand, then make sure your communication is professional and serious. So even though it might be a top 10 on the list, it might not be relevant to you. Number 5 is confidence. So make sure, even if you're not feeling confident, even if you're not sure of the message or the information that you're about to come out with, even if you haven't done the research or you haven't prepared well, make sure that you come across as confident, because number one, people will believe more in you, but also people cannot really, if you're coming off as confident, they I don't want to say they won't be able to tell that you're not prepared, but they'll and they'll believe in you more if you are believing in yourself. And if you don't believe in yourself, that straight away comes out and is quite obvious to your listeners that you're communicating to, or to your audience. All right. Number 6 is empathy. So empathy is all about understanding other people's emotions and the ability to put yourself in their shoes. So even if you disagree with whether it's your employer, your coworker, employee, it's important for you to understand and respect your point of view. This will create a better and more harmonious environment. It will create a more trusting environment as well, and then it will also show that you're a more fair person, and it's not just like dictatorship or and when you have empathy, it shows that you're approachable. It shows that you're a little bit flexible. All right. Number 7 is open-mindedness. So a good communicator should enter any conversation with a flexible and open mind. Be open to listening and understanding another person's point of view, rather than simply just getting your message across. Because a lot of times people will just be like, "Yep, I'm here and I've got my opinion, and no matter what you say, my opinion is not changing." So those types of conversations are very, very annoying, very, very boring. And I know we've all been there where like you feel like you're talking to yourself really. So try to be open-minded. And then also when it comes to business, they always say the customer is right. So if you're coming in there and you're not going to change your mind, and the customer is not right, then the customer is just going to go somewhere else. All right. Respect. So the most important thing is people love to be treated with respect, and if they feel like you're not respecting them, they're not gonna. They won't respect you, but also they won't stick around. All right. And when it comes to communication, people will be more open to communicating with you if you convey respect for them and their ideas. All right. Number 9, which is very helpful. I think it's one of the most helpful, because this is the one thing that will help you improve the most, which is feedback. So being able to not only receive feedback, but also give feedback and this is a very important communication skill. And when it comes to feedback, it's like constructive feedback, or done in a way where you're not pissing the person off or upsetting the person, or just trying to belittle them or demean them. So and when it comes to feedback, you can put in good and bad together, so then at least they feel like they know that you're aware that there's things that they're doing good and there's things that they're doing bad, rather than just focusing on bad stuff, or rather than just like only talking about their good stuff, because then it could feel like you're sucking up to them or playing up to them. All right. And then last one is picking the right medium. So it's important to figure out which type of communication is going to be important. All right. So for example, like with this live, I decided just to talk rather than have the slide and me. I didn't really want to distract. I didn't really want to, confuse. So I just decided, and then it's important for you to figure out which one would work well. So you need to do a bit of research about your audience, about who they are, about what they're doing, and then that will definitely help. Yeah, so that's all right. That's communication in a nutshell. And then we've got team building. All right. So what is team building? Team building is the ability to build cohesive working units, and this is a very highly valued skill for most employers. All right. So team building is the process by which individual members of a department or interdepartmental group are encouraged to develop more collaborative working relationship. So without you having an ability to team build, then you probably won't progress into a position where you're elevated to a management position where you're looking after people. All right. So managers, supervisors, and outside consultants seek to instill a cooperative spirit within team members, as well as an understanding and appreciation of the rules which their fellow employees play. All right. So when it comes to team building, there's different things. So you've got coaching, you've got training, you've got setting goals, you've got support, you've got motivation, you've got coming up with solutions, you've got skills, and the most important thing is the collaboration. All right. And also feel free to put down any questions that you guys have at any point, and I'll try to answer them as we're going. And yeah, so basically thinking about what teams are and how they add value to an organization. All right. So employers believe that a highly collaborative teams will add value through greater productivity, higher morale, less counterproductive conflicts, and better customer relationships. All right. The other thing that's very important is the retention of staff as well. So if a team is good, then there's a high chance that people will want to stay within the company rather than constantly you're having to hire new people. Right. Some organizations use team building to spur productive competition between groups. For example, especially in sales, this works quite well. So you've got different regions, and then you're playing games to get them to compete with each other. All right. And then in terms of how to build successful team building, all right, so it's a group process whereby members feel invested in the direction taken, and the results achieved by the collective is a critical element in team building. All right, so you need to be able to empower individuals, and individual needs have to have input towards developing a group goal and group objectives. All right, and defining the strategies employed to reach these goals. So ideally, what you have is the management draws a consensus around mutually agreeable directions for the group to maximize buy-in by the team members. So you don't want the manager to come in and dictate or put in or say. You want to sit down with the team and get people's input, get people's ideas, thoughts, suggestions, so that they feel they're not only part of the process, but they're able to make decisions, choose, change, and then that way it strengthens the team, it strengthens the foundations, and also it sort of creates a level playing field where everyone's on the same level, not where like certain employees, whether they're like because they're older or newer, or certain managers have more power, you know. So it's all about creating a nice sort of nice environment. All right, and then the other thing that's important is clearly defining the roles and responsibilities for individual members is another essential ingredient for successful team building. That way members knows what to expect and what not to expect from their group members. And then another thing that's very important is in terms of the rules and the regulations. So get the team to come up with a set of rules that everyone needs to follow, and then get everyone to come in and agree to what will happen if those rules are not followed. So I'll give you two very good examples, right? So the first example, like what I try to do in my workshops when I have them in physical. So the first day I come in and I'd be like, okay, listen guys, we've got like an hour, all right? So we're meant to start at 7:30 and we're meant to finish at 2:30 or whatever, all right? And I don't want you guys to be late. But if you're late, what do you guys think about having a Rama system? So it's all about you value the time, you prepare, you commit. All right. So basically, if you decide that you're late or you're running late, then you know from now that you have to pay a gharama or a tax, and then it's usually like a token. So what I used to have, and then more importantly than that, is we want you to be here for the full duration. So if you need to leave early, مثلا عندكم ترحيل or عندكم late or كده, then you also have to pay a gharama. So what I had it as was like 5 جنيه or 5 Sudanese pound, 5 SDG for someone that comes late, and then for someone that comes early it's like 10 SDG, all right? And then if everyone is happy and then everyone's buying in because we come up with a decision together, I think it works quite well. And then straight away, like from the second day, we implement it, and then like people actually enjoy it. I felt, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I mean my students definitely loved it. And then I was getting messages already like, oh, I'm late, I'm sorry, I've got my gharama money ready or whatever. And then the second thing is, like, I don't know, in Sudan I've realized يعني لو الزول داير يخرب أي شغل يخرب أي حاجة بس يكون لجنة. Because I feel like people يعني I know group work is very difficult in general لكن في السودانيين بالذات ما عارف ليه لكن الشغل الجماعة دائما مشكلة كبيرة. ف يعني setting penalties is very important. فلو الزول ما جا مثلا أو ما سلم الشغل بيحصل كده كده كده. So you need to come up with a whole like process progress. And that's the second thing. But I don't know. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that as well. And then in terms of يعني examples of team building skills that you need to think about and work on for yourself. So the first one is collaboration. So collaboration is working together, working with other people. All right. So if you're not good at that, put yourselves in conflict situations where you're forced to work on that area. And then also every time you do, think about what went well, what didn't go well, how can I make it better. All right. And then communication is a very important part of team building. But obviously you're going to be working on that because you're working on general communication anyway. And then conflict resolution is another area that you need to think about and work on as a skill to enhance your ability to build teams. And then the ability of delegation and figuring out how to delegate appropriately, delegating wisely, and delegating to the right team. And then drawing consensus around goals and strategies. All right. And then brainstorming strategies and solutions in a free, open, fair environment. All right. And then now it brings us to the media part of the workshop. And I don't think we're gonna take the whole hour. It seems like we're nearly finished. Actually, I just want to see what time it is. Yeah, so we've got like, I don't know, maybe like another 7-8 slides. We're like halfway. All right. So with this one in mind, I designed it with Ahfad University in mind. So when I come to the examples, there's going to be Ahfad University related examples, or quite a lot of them. So the first thing that we need to think about is what are the different types of media. All right. So you've got newspapers, you've got magazine, you've got radio, you've got documentary, you've got social media, you've got blogs or vlogs. All right. So, and then I'm sure there's other ones that I haven't really put down. All right. And then when it comes in particular to Ahfad University for women, there's different types of media that they have. All right. So the first one, they have this magazine that they publish. It's called, in English, it's called the Promising Half. In Arabic, I can't remember. النصيف الأوسط ولا حاجة زي كده ما عارف. All right, and then they have IERO, which is their communications department. They have a bulletin that they come out with. Then they have Ahfad Journal, and then they have the Ahfad Student Ambassador Board, which has information on it. Then they have the Ahfad website. And then they have Ahfad social media page, which is like for the university. And then all the individual schools have their own social media page. And then there's the Ahfad University Twitter, and Ahfad University Instagram, and Ahfad University YouTube channel. So when it comes to your business, think about how many different types of medias you've got, and think about, do you need all those different types of media? Think about what types of content you're going to have on all the different types of, and whether the information is going to be replicated or not, whether it's going to be in terms of who each one is trying to reach, and how many people are actually going to see it. And you think about that. Those are the types of things when it comes to media that I want you to think about when it comes to business. Also, you can have more things or less things. And then when it comes to media skills, these are like 13 must-have media skills, all right? So community management. So when you look at the top brands on social media, you'll notice that they all have in common is a community aspect, all right? So it's all about, you're creating a place where people feel like they belong, where people feel like they can share their ideas freely, where people feel like they can come and ask questions and get a reply from people in the community, all right? The second thing is relationship building. So not only is it important to connect with your audience, but also to have a connection with influencers, and that's why relationship building is a crucial social media skill that you have to develop. All right. Another skill, which I think is the most important skill when it comes to media, is creativity. So a study from Fractal and BuzzStream found that 21% of social media users would unfollow a brand if the content shared was too repetitive or boring. All right. So on top of that, when it comes to creativity, I mean, there's so many brands out there, so you need something to make you stand apart from everyone else. All right. When it comes to the fourth one is organization, and this is very important. So when it comes to social media especially, there's an ability to schedule, so you don't have to. And so what scheduling means is that you can put down your picture or your post or your comment or whatever, and then you say when exactly. So I'll say I wanted it to come out on the 29th of December at 11, and then this one I wanted to come out on the 30th of December. So in one day you can have like 1 month worth of data, content, whatever, schedule it, and then for the next month or 2 months you don't have to worry. So creating a publishing schedule which tracks all of your contacts and maintaining multiple social media profiles requires some level of organization. So also you don't want like Instagram to have the same stuff as Twitter, as the same stuff as Facebook, as all the other website, blog. So you need to be organized. You need to be able to handle them, and then also not just posting stuff, but also replying to people, also looking at like tracking information, like in terms of how many users are on and not on. So you need to be really organized. All right. Another very important thing is the ability to learn new technology quickly. All right, because not only are social media platforms constantly changing, updating, and upgrading, but new social media platforms are constantly coming up as well. So a lot of them are kind of similar, but also can be very different. So it's very, very important to be able to stay on top of this. The other thing that's linked to this is like looking at trends and seeing where things are going. Writing. So writing skills, you definitely need to improve on that. And then also knowing which writing goes with which thing. So whether it's creating a blog post to be shared on social media or crafting the perfect tweet, writing is a must-have social media skills. All right. Number 7 is sales. So with this one, it's a little bit tricky because you don't want to be pushy. You don't want to come across as a pushy salesperson, especially on social media. But also, you don't want to miss out on potential leads by being too passive and too much of a follower. So it's like trying to find that perfect balance of pushy, salesy, and not pushy, salesy. All right. Number 9 is analytical skills. All right. So how is your social media strategy working for your business? So a good social media manager should not only be able to answer that question, but also prove it. And how do they prove it? With data. All right. So you need to, number one, when it comes to the very beginning, figure out what it is you're trying to achieve. And those things that you're trying to achieve should be quantifiable. So for example, X amount of followers, or X amount of likes on each post, or X amount of posts per day. And then when it comes to that time frame, you'd be like, yep, I've got that. So you not only need to have that, but you also need to be able to get the data, keep storage of the data, and keep the data there. All right. Number 10 is detail orientated. So the devil is in the details. One accidental typo or oversight in a tweet can result in negative press or flat out embarrassment. So you just need to make sure that you're focused and detail focused. All right. Number 11 is SEO, which is search engine optimization. All right. So search engine optimization and social media marketing have become more intertwined, more interlinked. So it's now become crucial that you need to have SEO if you want to be a social media manager or be working in social media. All right. Number 12 is decision making. All right. So research published on Search Engines Watch found 53% of users expect brands to respond back to them within an hour on Twitter. So not only does the person need to be able to get back to people and make decisions, but also to make decisions on their own. So like not constantly going back to the manager or going back to the owner or going back to the sales team and be like, okay, should I do this? Should I do that? Should I not do this? Should I not do that? You know, you need to be able to like think on your feet and make a decision. All right. And then number 13, which is the final one, is time management. All right. So spending time on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook can quickly be quite a time drain. You can get distracted. You can get, you can go down a rabbit hole. So you need to be able to plan your time and then stick to the plan of what you were planning to do. All right. I know it's easy for me to say and stuff, but like just think about how much time you put on social media. All right. So in terms of improving your media skills, all right, so start with the relations bit. All right. So media relations are unsurprisingly all about relationships. All right. So mutual trust, respect, and occasional even genuine friendship. So why do many PR folks still think that an email, or even worse, a group email, is enough? To be blunt, if you have yet to meet the person you are just about to send a release to, unless it is news of earth-shattering importance, don't press send. The chances are that if they don't know you, they won't care too much about you or your client. All right. Another thing is knowing your media. So it might seem obvious, but it needs to be said. Know who you're pitching to, understand what kind of topics they cover, whether it's trade, lifestyle, business, general news, the kind of formats they prefer, whether it's a news release, an opinion piece, a feature, a column, an analytical, and then also which journalist within the publications covers that. All right. So if you're not relevant, you'll be ignored. All right. And then make sure that you research. And then another part, which is also very important, is be ready to follow up. All right. So also referred to as know your client's business. If, for instance, you're pitching a tech client, you should have a good understanding of the tech sector in general and of your client's business in particular. All right. Number 4, find an exclusive angle. So for many journalists, exclusivity is still the best way to pull in readers and to keep editors happy. However, exclusives can at times conflict with the client's wish to generate the widest possible media coverage. So bear in mind and think about that. So if your client wants a general release, then explain this to your media contacts. Most will understand, and this again links back to having a good, strong relationship. All right. But also think of ways to offer more value to the release. So for example, it might be a general release, but say one particular journalist, you give them X, or you make it, something that they will really enjoy. And then also the most important thing is to deliver, because excuses don't wash. Excuses will never happen, will never work. All right. So this one's very simple. Never promise what you can't deliver. If there's even a small doubt in your mind that you won't be able to deliver within the publication's deadline, take it back, apologize, and look to make amends next time. All right. And then number 6 is use your communication skills. So standard template press releases tend to get standard treatment. All right. So that means, sadly, most of the time they'll just be either delete or sitting on hold. So if you find putting together your releases to be uninspiring process, then how do you think a journalist feels when they're reading that? All right. Sometimes it's about innovating how you communicate. All right. So this could be putting it as a video, making it more as bullet points. All right. But more often than not, it simply means writing compelling copy that tells your story in a clear, accessible, and interesting manner. When it comes to public speaking, get organized. So when you organize all your thoughts and materials, it helps you become much more relaxed and calm. And when you have clear, organized thoughts, it can greatly reduce your speaking anxiety, because you can better focus on the one thing at hand, which is giving a great speech. All right. The second thing is practice and prepare extensively. Right? Nothing takes the place of practicing and preparing for your speech. Write out a script of your key points, but don't read from the script word for word, because then it's very obvious that you're, and then also engage eye contact with your audience. And then prepare very well for your speech, and prepare so well that you can answer any possible question thrown at you. third point is eliminate the fear of rejection. All right. So what if my audience hates my speech? What if they boo me off the stage? Get all of that out of your head. All right. The audience is there to listen to you for a reason. All right. So get rid of that fear, and then focus on patterns. So when you're speaking, try to get into a rhythm or a flow. Keep your sentences short, sweet, to the point, and then also repeat key points. Like repeating key points means those key points are very important key points. All right. Another thing as well is short pauses in between, and then this, especially if you want to build up anticipation for the next thing that you're about to say. So that's very, very, very good trick. And then I mentioned this before, but it's very important, which is watching yourself in the mirror. Because if you practice your speech in front of the mirror, it's as if you're speaking directly to someone. And when you're doing this, pay attention to your facial expressions, your gestures, your body movements, and also how welcoming you appear. When you speak, you have gentle expressions and a calm demeanor. When you have gentle expressions and a calm demeanor when you speak, you'll be much more welcoming to your audience. All right. And then record yourself and learn your voice. So this, like the ability to record your speech on your phone or video camera, this gives record yourself giving the talk from the beginning to the end, and then listen to it or watch it and make notes on how you could make it better. Some people do not like listening to the sound of their voice on tape, so it's important that you get used to your speaking voice, and your speaking style. And then also, one part people overthink or take for granted is your breathing. All right, so work on your breathing. When you focus on your breathing, your voice will have more resonance and you will relax. All right, so breathe calmly, and again, focus on getting into a rhythm. All right, we've got no problem. I appreciate it. I got you, and I'm gonna definitely save this, so you can totally go to sleep and finish the rest tomorrow, inshallah. So don't worry about that. Another thing that you could think about doing is going to a professional public speaking class. All right, so you can do this either as like having a coach or a mentor one-to-one, or you can go into a group thing. All right, so there are many groups that you can join to learn the art of public speaking. A group such as Toastmasters, which is a non-profit and helps people get over their fears by having them practice speaking on subjects over and over. So this is definitely something that if you're really, really scared of public speaking, I definitely recommend, because the good thing is, with these classes, it's all people that are like in the same boat. It's not in the public, so you're in a sort of safe environment, safe space, and then once you get to that level, which they will probably tell you when that level is, then you get to go out into the real world and try. And then also, like, you can gauge your progress, you can get feedback from people that are similar. So I definitely recommend getting into public speaking classes. Another thing is giving your speech to another person. So there are many people that you can practice your speech on, but most importantly, tell them that you need them to be completely honest with you, so that they, and especially in their critique and their criticism and their feedback. All right, so some examples of who you can practice on. So you've got like your significant other, your friends, your parents, or even your dog. All right, so it doesn't really need to overthink this particular thing. But speaking directly to another person will help you relax and give you the experience with getting feedback from someone. And also, this part will really help, because if they have questions about your speech, it is likely that the members of the audience will have either the same exact questions or similar questions. So this is also not just in terms of questions, but also not just in terms of like how the speech went, but also in terms of dealing with questions and getting you more prepared. Something that's very helpful is having a light snack. Sorry, not snack. I think I've got my food, my mind on my food, and my food on my mind. No, exercise, light exercise before speaking. All right, so exercising lightly before a presentation can help get the oxygen flowing, the blood circulating, especially the oxygen to your brain, and then So you can either like do some jumping jacks, you can take a walk, or like do some knee bends. And then the final part of like the public speaking is PowerPoint, and how PowerPoint can either be really, really great or really, really bad, right? So sometimes having PowerPoint can be your best friend. It can help, keep you focused. It can, especially if you're losing your train of thought, it can keep your audience engaged, and then also it can give people a good place to grab notes and main points from. All right, but at the same time, you don't want to put everything that you're saying or gonna say onto the slides, because then people are like, they zone out, and that's just not good. So that's why PowerPoint can be your best friend, or it can be your worst enemy. Okay, so now we have come to the end of the slides, but I will give you guys an individual exercise, which I will leave with you. You can do it if you want, and then you can send it back to me via message or not. Bear in mind that this is like an exercise that I would have given to some students at Ahfad, which might not be relevant to you because you might not be a student. But what I do want you to do is, if you have 3 minutes to prepare, so individually, what I want you to do is just write a very simple paragraph, right? So if these questions are not linked or relevant to you, change them and find something that is relevant to you. So for example, if you're not a student, but you are working, so write about your work. If you're not a student, you're not working, write about your favorite subject, all right? But what I want you to do is write down your name and what subject or course you're doing, why you chose the subject that you're studying, and then in particular, why you chose to study there or study at Ahfad, and then what you love about studying there, or what you love about Ahfad, or your work or your uni, and then one advice that you'd give to someone who is going to be a new student, or a new employee at the place you work, or a new, in the thing that you're about to write about. What is the one advice that you would give? All right, I will give you guys the opportunity to do this and send it to me in your own time. But also, if you guys have any questions, like, I'm here. I don't know if you guys want to write down your questions, and then I will try to answer them. Also, if you guys have any feedback for me, or what you liked, what you didn't like, also I will give you guys an opportunity for that as well. I'm just gonna move the camera here. Okay, that's much better. I'm just scrolling through the thing. So once I get to the bottom, if I find any comments or questions or anything, I will answer them. If not, then I will most likely just end the live, and then just message me if you do have any more points, or if you want me to talk about anything on an individual basis. And then my plan is to download this video and put it on my YouTube page, which is Sudanpreneur, and I've already uploaded the previous two days workshops on my Sudanpreneur page. So if you missed out on those, you can totally get on line, go to YouTube, watch them back, or you can watch them on Sudanpreneur as well. All right. It doesn't look like there are any questions, but that's totally fine. If you want me to go over your individual exercise, then either drop it to me or send it to me by email. All right. Yalla. See you guys tomorrow, inshallah.